The Lord is my shepherd, watching over my soul to keep guarding over me ever, watching wherever I go. And when the winds blow, He is my shelter. And when I'm lost and alone, He rescues me. And when the lion comes, He is my victory, constantly watching over me. He is constantly watching over me.
A Journey Through the Bible, Day 250 of 365, Tuesday, September the 7th, 2021. Today's reading, Jeremiah chapter 38, verse 28, 2 Kings chapter 25, verse 3, Jeremiah chapter 52, verse 6, and chapter 39, verses 2 and 3, 2 Kings chapter 25, 4, Jeremiah chapter 39, verse 4, chapter 52, verse 7, 2 Kings chapter 25, verse 5, Jeremiah chapter 39, verse 5, chapter 52, verse 8, 2 Chronicles chapter 36, verse 17, Jeremiah chapter 52, verse 9, chapter 39, verse 6, and chapter 52, verse 10, Ezekiel chapter 12, verses 13 and 14, 2 Kings chapter 25, verses 6 and 7, Jeremiah chapter 39, verse 7, chapter 52, verse 11, 2 Kings chapter 25, verses 8 through 10, 2 Chronicles chapter 36, verse 19, Jeremiah chapter 39, verse 8, chapter 52, verses 12 through 14, 2 Kings chapter 25, verses 11 and 12, 2 Chronicles chapter 36, verses 20 and 21, Jeremiah chapter 39, verses 9 and 10, chapter 52, verses 15 and 16, and Psalms 94. Finally and tragically, we come to the fall of Jerusalem, 586 BC. Note that 2 Kings 25, Jeremiah 39 and 52, and 2 Chronicles 36 supplement one another in the story of the fall. In Psalms 94, God is a righteous avenger of sin who is merciful to the humble. Jeremiah chapter 38, verse 28. And Jeremiah remained in the court of the guard until the day that Jerusalem was taken. 2 Kings chapter 25, verse 3. On the 9th day of the 4th month, the famine was so severe in the city that there was no food for the people of the land. Jeremiah chapter 52, verse 6. On the 9th day of the 4th month, the famine was so severe in the city that there was no food for the people of the land. Jeremiah chapter 39, verses 2 through 3. In the 11th year of Zedekiah, in the 4th month, on the 9th day of the month, a breach was made in the city. Then all the officials of the king of Babylon came and sat in the middle gate. Nergal-Sar-Ezer, Samgar-Nebu, Sar-Sechem, and Rab-Saris, Nergal-Sar-Ezer, and Rab-Mag, with all the rest of the officers of the king of Babylon. 2 Kings chapter 25, verse 4. Then a breach was made in the city, and all the men of war fled by night, by the way of the gate between the two walls, by the king's garden, though the Chaldeans were around the city, and they went in the direction of the Arabah. Jeremiah chapter 39, verse 4. When Zedekiah, king of Judah, and all the soldiers saw them, they fled, going out of the city at night by way of the king's garden through the gate between the two walls. And they went toward the Arabah. Jeremiah chapter 52, verse 7. Then a breach was made in the city, and all the men of war fled and went out from the city by night, by the way of a gate between the two walls, by the king's garden, while the Chaldeans were around the city, and they went in the direction of the Arabah. 2 Kings chapter 25, verse 5. But the army of the Chaldeans pursued the king and overtook him in the plains of Jericho, and all his army was scattered from him. Jeremiah chapter 39, verse 5. But the army of the Chaldeans pursued them and overtook Zedekiah in the plains of Jericho. And when they had taken him, they brought him up to Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, at Riblah, in the land of Hamath, and he passed sentence on him. Jeremiah chapter 52, verse 8. But the army of the Chaldeans pursued the king and overtook Zedekiah in the plains of Jericho, and all his army was scattered from him. 2 Chronicles chapter 36, verse 17. Therefore he brought up against them the king of the Chaldeans, who killed their young men with the sword in the house of their sanctuary, and had no compassion on young man or virgin, old man or aged. He gave them all into his hand. Jeremiah chapter 52, verse 9. Then they captured the king and brought him up to the king of Babylon at Riblah in the land of Hamath, and he passed sentence on him. Jeremiah chapter 39, verse 6. The king of Babylon slaughtered the sons of Zedekiah at Riblah before his eyes. The king of Babylon slaughtered all the nobles of Judah. Jeremiah chapter 52, verse 10. The king of Babylon slaughtered the sons of Zedekiah before his eyes, and also slaughtered all the officials of Judah at Riblah. Ezekiel chapter 12, verses 13 through 14. And I will spread my net over him, and he shall be taken in my snare. And I will bring him to Babylon, the land of the Chaldeans. Yet he shall not see it, and he shall die there. And I will scatter toward every wind all who are around him, his helpers, and all his troops, and I will unsheath the sword after them. 2 Kings chapter 25, verses 6 through 7. Then they captured the king and brought him up to the king of Babylon at Riblah, and they passed sentence on him. They slaughtered the sons of Zedekiah before his eyes, and put out the eyes of Zedekiah, and bound him in chains, and took him to Babylon. Jeremiah chapter 39, verse 7. He put out the eyes of Zedekiah, and bound him in chains to take him to Babylon. Jeremiah chapter 52, verse 11. He put out the eyes of Zedekiah, and bound him in chains. And the king of Babylon took him to Babylon, and put him in prison till the day of his death. 2 Kings chapter 25, verses 8 through 10. In the 5th month, on the 7th day of the month, that was the 19th year of King Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, Nebuzaradan, the captain of the bodyguard, a servant of the king of Babylon, came to Jerusalem. And he burned the house of the Lord, and the king's house, and all the houses of Jerusalem. Every great house he burned down. And all the army of the Chaldeans, who were with the captain of the guard, broke down the walls around Jerusalem. 2 Chronicles chapter 36, verse 19. And they burned the house of God, and broke down the wall of Jerusalem, and burned all its palaces with fire, and destroyed all its precious vessels. Jeremiah chapter 39, verse 8. The Chaldeans burned the king's house, and the house of the people, and broke down the walls of Jerusalem. Jeremiah chapter 52, verses 12 through 14. In the 5th month, on the 10th day of the month, that was the 19th year of King Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, Nebuzaradan, the captain of the bodyguard, who served the king of Babylon, entered Jerusalem. And he burned the house of the Lord, and the king's house, and all the houses of Jerusalem. Every great house he burned down. And all the army of the Chaldeans, who were with the captain of the guard, broke down all the walls around Jerusalem. 2 Kings chapter 25, verses 11 through 12. And the rest of the people who were left in the city, and the deserters who had deserted to the king of Babylon, together with the rest of the multitude, Nebuzaradan, the captain of the guard, carried into exile. But the captain of the guard left some of the poorest of the land to be vine dressers and plowmen. 2 Chronicles chapter 36, verses 20 through 21. He took into exile in Babylon those who had escaped from the sword, and they became servants to him and to his sons until the establishment of the kingdom of Persia, to fulfill the word of the Lord by the mouth of Jeremiah, until the land had enjoyed its Sabbaths. All the days that it lay desolate it kept Sabbath to fulfill 70 years. Jeremiah chapter 39, verses 9 through 10. Then Nebuzaradan, the captain of the guard, carried into exile to Babylon the rest of the people who were left in the city, those who had deserted to him, and the people who remained. Nebuzaradan, the captain of the guard, left in the land of Judah some of the poor people who owned nothing, and gave them vineyards and fields at the same time. Jeremiah chapter 52, verses 15 through 16. And Nebuzaradan, the captain of the guard, carried away captive some of the poorest of the people, and the rest of the people who were left in the city, and the deserters who had deserted to the king of Babylon, together with the rest of the artisans. But Nebuzaradan, the captain of the guard, left some of the poorest of the land to be vine dressers and plowmen. Psalm chapter 94, verses 1 through 16. O Lord, God of vengeance, O God of vengeance, shine forth. Rise up, O judge of the earth, repay to the proud what they deserve. O Lord, how long shall the wicked exult? They pour out their arrogant words, all the evildoers boast. They crush your people, O Lord, and afflict your heritage. They kill the widow and the sojourner, and murder the fatherless. And they say, the Lord does not see, the God of Jacob does not perceive. Understand, O dullest of the people, fools, when will you be wise? He who planted the ear, does he not hear? He who formed the eye, does he not see? He who disciplines the nations, does he not rebuke? He who teaches man knowledge. The Lord knows the thoughts of man, that they are but a breath. Blessed is the man whom you discipline, O Lord, and whom you teach out of your law, to give him rest from days of trouble, until a pit is dug for the wicked. For the Lord will not forsake his people. He will not abandon his heritage, for justice will return to the righteous, and all the upright in heart will follow it. Who rises up for me against the wicked? Who stands up for me against evildoers? Psalm chapter 94, verses 17 through 23. If the Lord had not been my help, my soul would soon have lived in the land of silence. When I thought my foot slips, your steadfast love, O Lord, held me up. When the cares of my heart are many, your consolations cheer my soul. Can wicked rulers be allied with you, those who frame injustice by statute? They band together against the life of the righteous and condemn the innocent to death. But the Lord has become my stronghold, my God, the rock of my refuge. He will bring back on them their iniquity and wipe them out for their wickedness. The Lord, our God, will wipe them out.
We are his children, and he is our Father, watching over our soul. Great is his love for his sons and his daughters, watching